a production of South Carolina ETV.
West Coast East Boys, Air Force people came over from California, and that, to my knowledge, is the beginning of it.
In '61, my father got a surfboard from John Stanko, who used to own Better Brands in Myrtle Beach, the Budweiser distributor. He bought a pop-out Mako from California, and they gave it to my father. For the next 6, 7 years, I paddled that around trying to learn how to turn it. Never did learn how to turn it.
No surf shops were around back then. I bought my first surfboard in Chapin Company, a hardware store. Paid $96 for it, but Danny West and his brother bought one, and they used to let me ride at least 1 or 2 waves a day. I'd sit on the beach nearly all day long getting to ride that one wave, but it made the difference. The first time I ever was propelled, I guess. Larry pushed me off when I rode the wave in the first time, and that started it off right there.
I started surfing in, probably the first time I ever tried it was in 1963. A friend had a board, and we just took it to the beach and tried it out, and parents let us mess with it. And then in the next Christmas, matter of fact, I asked my dad for one of my own, and so he gave it to me. And so that would be, I guess, the Christmas of 1963 or 63.
I started surfing in 1965 at Folly Beach in Charleston. And I had actually been on a board several years earlier, but I wouldn't say that I actually was surfing. But I actually got hooked on surfing in 1965.
I started the summer of van. My folks bought a house a couple blocks from the beach, and that first summer I went down there, and there was an old, van down there, and there was this strange-looking character painting flowers all over it, and it turned out to be a California surf bum named Kenny Dean. And he rented boards that summer, and he got a bunch of us. We were all about 15, 16 years old, about 6 or 7 of us, and he got us all started and took off from there and never looked back.
I first went surfing that I remember was more than likely summer of 1966, I believe, in Pawleys Island.
My brother, I went to the surf shop and picked out a surfboard, and then he said it has a ding in it. I put it in, got the ding fixed, and then he just said, "Okay, now you can go surfing," and that's how he taught me.
I started in 1968, and it was my brother Chuck who pushed me in my first wave. I'll never forget it. It was over in Sullivan's Island.
I remember the first wave I stood up on and then fell down like everybody else 2 seconds afterward. I remember the first wave I actually went down the line on. It was down in Pawleys Island, and I was really stoked. And I couldn't stop blabbing about it. For about 5, 10 minutes, I just kept coming up to Jason and saying, "Hey, I just, rode down the line of that wave."
I think the first wave I ever caught was on the surfboard belonging to 2 brothers, Willie and Mike Johnston. And we rode the whitewater in like you would on a raft. But it was just exciting. It was wonderful. I was in heaven. I knew I had to get involved with surfing at that point.
I remember the board weighed 45 pounds and I weighed 65 pounds, and it was quite a tussle getting it out to the beach. I used to put it on my head and stagger like this to get out onto the beach, but it was great fun, and I knew the first time I went that I was hooked. That was it. That was what I wanted to do for the rest of my life.
I got my first brand new board from Dewey Surf Shop in 1968, a Weber ski, and got a short john wetsuit for my birthday the day after Christmas, and that was really like my first. That's when it took off for me. Hadn't looked back since.
Oh, it was real fun. My brother started teaching me how to surf when I was about 8 years old. and basically just threw me out there. I think I knew how to surf before I really knew how to swim very well. And it was fun being around all the older guys. I got picked on a lot because of that, but still, it has had its fun moments as well.
First time I went surfing was in the summer of '73. You know, it was just pure accident. A friend of mine lived across the street, came over one day and said, "Why don't we go surfing?" And I looked at him like he was crazy because we'd never been surfing before. And so anyway, he talked me into it. We went to McKevlin's surf shop. We each rented a surfboard, went out to the beach, spent a few hours out there. We both had a good time. I think I had a better time than he did because I pursued it over and over.
It was Christmas Day. My brother got me a full suit and took me out. And it's been probably about 6 years since I've been surfing. And really, somebody's the one who got me started.
Right. I guess I started surfing, it was in 1979 or 80. That's when I just first moved here from a small little country town, so it's kind of strange. But yeah, I started surfing in basically Kelly Richards, the guy I surf for now, is one pretty much who I started surfing with.
I got into surfing because I wasn't any good at school, basically. I had a whole different world twirling and tumbling and just wasn't fitting. I had classic dyslexia and undiagnosed, and it went on for a long time. So I hitchhiked to the beach, which is pretty crazy now, but we did it back then. And somewhere along the line, I used to surf competitively, and it kind of, you know, it was like a pat on the back. I did it basically for that reason.
The boy I liked surfed when I was 10. I just kept going out there trying to hang out with him, and then eventually I just kept surfing. Yeah, I fell in love with it, really.
Well, I used to wear swimmies or a life jacket. So it's what my dad did. He would push me out, and when a wave came that was good, he would push me on the wave. Then I would stand up, but I couldn't turn or nothing. I was like this.
Actually, the day I bought the boards and came out here, and I set them down on the beach, and I was looking at them. I was so proud of them. They were so pretty. And we waxed them up, and we went out there, and we just got annihilated out on those waters. But we kept getting up and going back in there, and we just kept screaming, "I'm a surfer, I'm a surfer." It was an incredible feeling. I knew at that time that this is something that I was going to do forever. And we were terrible at it. I mean, we were just we were falling off the boards, couldn't paddle out properly, but we couldn't get the grin off our face. And at that moment, I knew that if I was this bad and having this much fun, that this is something I was going to do forever.
There's probably areas that all over the world that have surfers that come to specific surf spots, you know, at various times, and they all get to know each other, they get to see each other in the water, and they grow old together. They start, and some of them go by the wayside, and some come back and they reminisce, and they've experienced swells together, and they've experienced life together in the ocean. And so because of that, it's kind of a little community. And it's the world of Folly Beach. It has its own surfing community, its own people that have come through and made their mark or not made their mark either way. But it's, and I think that same type of community is in lots of different places.
You all have something in common, and that's the waves. And so it's kind of like something that brings everybody together.
Folly Beach basically was primitive. You come out here now, there's a hotel, there's nice houses. Back then it was like shacks. Matter of fact, past 12th Street on the east end or 6th Street on the west end, there was hardly any houses, just sand dunes, and you could do anything you wanted out there. Surf, nobody even knew you were out there.
I could think of a lot of people that we always had our little groups out here on the beach, but there always seemed to be some kind of a unity, regardless of, where you were raised at, whether you were raised in St. Andrews or North Charleston, James Island. It didn't matter. I mean, you had that surfer brotherhood.
When we were kids, it was just all great. Everybody knew each other on the beach. It was just like one big happy family. We hooted each other's rides and share rides to the beach, and it was just a great thing. When you see somebody riding down the road, they give you a thumbs up or a thumbs down if the waves were good or whatnot.
When we first started in Myrtle Beach, really, there was only like 2 or 3, and actually if you saw another surfer, it was kind of neat because you wanted to surf. Now you're trying to get away from everybody.
You had your different areas. People surfed at 29th Avenue South, and the crowd that I always started hanging around with, we surfed at what is now called the Sea Island Resort, Sandpiper Motel up in Myrtle Beach. And then you had your crowd that surfed at Dunes Cove, and still had 43rd Avenue, which is still a surf spot. You had different crowds. The crowds, we considered them crowded, but yet you're only looking at 10, 11 surfers. And everybody knew each other.
Back then, that was before all the campgrounds and the development had happened. Heading toward Myrtle Beach was nothing but about 300 acres of woods and just wide open beaches, no tourists. Yeah, it was a great playground. We had a ball. And back south, it was still very sparsely populated. Surfside had about 200 year-round residents. And fortunately, there was a bunch of us all about the same age, living in the same area, and we all kind of got into the surfing thing together.
On a typical day of surfing back then, we would get up early and do a dawn patrol, come out, check. Even if it wasn't up, we were going to come out and walk around and talk about it, sit in our cars out here, run our mouths and tell stories about the days we'd been up and what we were going to do today. Go to school, and the minute it was out, we'd all fly out here as fast as we could, get something to eat, then get on out to the beach and go out there and wait. And wait till it came up. Everybody's going to get wet, get out there and have a lot of fun no matter what.
We used to know everybody up and down the coast that surfed. There were so few surfers then, and especially if you were competing, you knew the top people. You even knew the top big name people from California and stuff. They were all over here or we were there.
The group of guys that I grew up surfing with all mostly have families now and careers, and it's rare that we can all get together to go out. It seems that families and other priorities kind of take precedent over surfing, and that's understandable. But on occasions, they'll manage to break away, and I can call them up, and we'll still get out in the water and have a great time. And it's funny, you can really tell the old true hardcores that surf whenever a good swell comes up. You'll see about 20 or 30 guys well into their 40s out here that are still surfing. It just kind of warms your heart when you see that, those guys still at it.
There is still that core group that I finally look upon and still have a lot of fun with out in the water.
I haven't missed a season in 33 years of surfing, and I love surfing with my friends, and the younger kids too. I just love them, and I love being with my buddies, my old buddies. There's very few of them, but there's still a few of us left that still surf. And a day surfing with your friends is a whole lot better than surfing by yourself.
I would say after the group of about 50 that I knew from James Island High School from 65 to 69, maybe out of 50, there's maybe 5 of us left that are still surfing in our 40s. And when we're out together, it's really a nice time.
You can forget about all your earthly worries while you're out there, and all you have to worry about is the next wave. There's a lot of camaraderie out in the water, a lot of fellowship.
Really getting back out with my friends and seeing their sons surf, that's a real inspiration to me.
What makes it even more enjoyable is when you happen to be out in the water and you see someone that you surfed with a lot years ago, and you just happen to see that they're still into the sport and doing it.
I actually have a wonderful time. I love my friends being with me. I love the hoots and the hollers, and I love the hoot and holler. So it's really a lot of fun when your friends are out there.
my oldest son, Teddy, that's the fellow that was really crazy about the sport. And that's what happened with me getting into the surfboard business. We had a bowling alley, and in the back of the bowling alley was a storeroom 9 by 40. Then we moved further across in front to be on Santa Street by maybe 1,000 square feet. Then in 1980, we moved into this 3,000 square foot. And we expanded. In 1982, we added enlarged again. Back there was a surfboard and a ball of wax, and then the shorty wetsuit. We didn't realize you could wear a long wetsuit. In those days, all they had right to the knees. But it was a matter of selling the surfboard and throwing a ball of wax at the fella and wishing him well. Now it's a brand new ball game. Everything completely changed.
It's a lot more complicated than it used to be. The shop started out with boards and bars of wax that we cut up ourselves, and that was pretty much it, and cheese sandwiches for surfers when nobody else was open here on the beach but the surf shop. And after that, it started getting into all the clothing, made it really big. That's when all the suits and ties kind of got involved in the business, and it really started becoming big dollars when the clothing took off.
We got into the surfing business from the sailboard business. Kind of got us started when we were making our own sailboards and jumping waves with sailboards. And we needed a retail outlet to do our sailboards
To keep our habit going.
and to keep our sailboards going. And the Natural Art Shop over there came up for sale. And that's when we started the surfing business. We had a rack of t-shirts and about 8 surfboards and a couple of pieces of sailboards. And then we discovered something really interesting. Surfers and sailboarders don't get along.
So at that point, what we decided is, well,
sailboards out the door. We like surfing. Surfing's our roots. So the heck with the sailboards. We stopped sailboarding and just stuck with surfing.
I think probably the first thing somebody sees when they walk into the shop, and the biggest difference that they notice if they're from the school where they've learned about surfboards through the Gidget movies or something like that, is the size difference now. They look at them and suddenly there's lots of boards under 6 foot. There's still boards in the 9-foot range, but there's also the real smaller ones. Probably the other thing is the weight of the boards. If they get past the shock of the size being so strange and they pick one up and they feel a board that 20 years ago weighed 50 pounds and now only weighs 12 pounds or something. They seem shocked by that. I think today probably the biggest difference is the variety of stuff that's available for people. There are boards for practically every age group and every size and every sort of experience that a person has. From the totally absolute inexperienced person can get a board that can work for them right away. And also you can have somebody who's been surfing for years and years and is almost in a professional sort of realm. They can find a board at your local surf shop that works good for them too.
I think that there was a period of time when the surfboards got too small that it excluded a great number of people. And even the beginning surfers didn't have a good time when they went out because the surfboard was so small that basically all they could do is pretend they were surfing. Unless they were very, very talented, they really didn't get a lot of surfing in. And I think that probably the best thing that happened was when the surfboard, when it got okay, maybe Endless Summer 2, that movie, because it got to be okay for people to ride longboards and fun shapes and any other kind of board they felt like riding as long as they were having fun on it.
The boards are riding a lot better, the technology is a lot greater, the rails are better, fins are set better, so your performance is definitely enhanced with the surfboards. Even the fun shapes now are lighter weight, and you know, they just ride a whole lot better. And I think that would give more people pleasure, and that's why more people want to keep doing it, because they're getting more fun out of their surfing.
I prefer riding longboards, especially in this area. The wave conditions around here generally don't tend to be favorable to ride real short boards, except during big hurricane swells, which I'll break out my short board then. But more often than not, it's longboards for me, and it just seems like that's kind of an attitude, or kind of the way things are going with a lot of the, especially us older guys now. We're kind of regressing back a little bit. We find we're getting a few more pounds around the waist now, and it's a little bit easier to paddle the longboards. And it just seems to be a better way to go, and it's a lot more fun.
I think the shortboarders thought that they ruled, and now they're seeing that the longboarders are coming back in full force, and now most of the kids, even in our area, are all either have short and longboards, so that they're seeing relics like us out there surfing and enjoying both. I ride both longboard and shortboard, but I prefer the medium board. About a 7'10", 7'6" is the size I prefer.
There's a whole different feel between the longer board and the short board. The short board's fun, but I like that. I don't know, I guess it's a matter of style. And especially today, of course, I'm not, you know, svelte 120 pounds like I was back then, closer to like 220. Longer board, easy to paddle, I can catch just as many waves, have just as much fun as the kids out there. And it's not as, I hate to say it, but it's not as tough on the old man.
Every surfboard is so handmade that you would not believe it. I mean, there's no possible way. If this guy loves this surfboard and he brings it back and he says, Kelly, I want this exact surfboard, I can come close and it will probably be a little bit better than this one, but you cannot reproduce anything that's handmade, because it's putting pieces of a puzzle together. I mean, you have to take the guy's height and weight. That's important. You have to take, it's hard to believe, but how good he is and his ability is one of the most important things. And then you have to try to tell him what you think, but you have to have ears too when he's telling you what he wants. And you want to come to a happy medium, you know, to where he's happy. There's been more than once to where I've gave a customer my advice. I said, this is what I would do, and they say, no, this is what I want. Then that's when I have to turn my brain off, and I just have to hear them and listen, and then that's when I say, okay, on this board, I'm gonna work for you. It all begins with the blank, which is made out of like a polyurethane, styrofoam, foam, or whatever. And you just carve and cut the blank into what the customer wants. And that could be a whole story within itself. And so you custom shape the blank to what they want. And then we put the airbrush right on the foam. And then the board, is glass with cloth and resin, comparable to like an M&M. The foam is the candy inside, and the glass and the resin is the hard coating that goes on the outside. And then we put on the skegs. You could build a surfboard in 2 days, but that's not the way you do it. We do them in like a batch of a half dozen, 8 a day, and each guy does his job on that 8 a day. I think that's what makes my surfboards, is that I used to compete. Okay, I competed since I was 12. And in the surfboard business, that's very important, because if you don't have people out there riding the different boards and coming back to you with good feedback or bad, that's what you need to improve your product. Because if you're not riding the boards, or if a guy that surfs well is not riding the boards, then you just don't know what you need to do to advance. And a team is a very important thing. And it's a lot of fun to go to the contest, and you see a guy win a contest on a surfboard that you made. I mean, that makes you proud. B, it's like it gives these guys, just like in any sport, competition is good. And so the little kids want to be on the team because the bigger kids that surf good are on our boards maybe, or on a board that we have, and that's what makes the ball roll.
I started in 1969. First contest I won was a Sun Fun contest at Pawleys Island. And last contest I surfed in at that time was in 1972. I dropped out, but in 1994 I stepped back into it. And I've been pretty successful. I've been twice second place longboard in the state, first in my region. I placed in the Mid-Atlantic regionals.
I started competing pretty early, probably before I should have, but because I was a girl, they kept egging us on to go ahead and get out there. So I guess there weren't really sponsors back then. You just were sponsored by a shop, and they would give you a break on the surfboards, and you would promote that shop. But the competitions were just few and far between. You might have 1 or 2 contests a year. And then as the years went on, the ESA started up, and they would have 4 contests a year. And they would be held in a particular district. And then you would travel to other districts to compete, and then you would compete in the U.S. or the East Coast Championships first, and then possibly the U.S. if you were good enough. In '72, my first trip to the U.S. Surfing Championships Nationals were in Huntington Beach, and I was sent to represent the East Coast in the women's division. And it was pretty cutthroat. I wasn't really prepared for it, but I got through several heats, much to my surprise. But at first there was just very few contests, local people, local judges, like we'd surf at Folly, or our surf club, which originally was West Coast East Surf Club, would sponsor several contests a year. And then later there was the Palmetto Surf Club. That one started having more and more judges from out of town, and a lot of the big name people would come.
All the big stars used to come to Folly Beach in those days, and we'd talk with them. You don't see much of that anymore. But they're still there, but they just don't come to Folly.
There was guys in Garden City, and as time went on, we developed a kind of a friendly rivalry between the towns. We started a contest, Surfside Garden City Locals. And that went on for about 3 years, and then we got a lot of backing in the 3rd year. And the 4th year, City of Myrtle Beach came in and said, we'll take it over. So that ended the local aspect to it.
I got into competition. My first contest was 1971, Pawleys Island, in the boys division. And I think I got first place in that. It's my first trophy. I've kind of come full circle. When I first started, I was a young little kid. I looked up to all these older guys, you know, and I wanted to do it was fun competing. It was kind of like a gathering of all the best guys and a stage to do your thing. And then, you know, eventually I stayed with it, and I became one of the good guys, I guess. In 1982, I won the U.S. amateur title. That was like my highest claim to fame. And now I've kind of gone to the far end of the scale, and I look back now and I see the kids, you know, the parents are out here dropping them off, and I'm doing the same thing. But I still look at it like surfing, this competition here that we're at today is like the Little League of surfing, you know? And it's just great to see the kids out here.
I like contests, in my opinion. I think it's more fun. And, like, I started in, I think, 92, like, after 1 year surfing. My brother got me going up to all his contests with him, so I've been surfing contests since 92, really.
Yeah, I've just always been a competitor. And, I mean, if you ask most people that know me, I mean, they'd tell you that. And I just, you know, surfing contests, I don't know what it is, but it just gives me so much energy. And I just love winning.
I started competing at, I think I was 14, and it was an ESA contest that Kelly and everybody was going to be entering, and they asked me to enter it for fun, and I ended up getting first, and it was really like a rush, like an adrenaline at the age of 13 or 14, so I just kept doing it.
And then I kind of got the hang of surfing, I would say. And then I was fortunate enough to get to enter a pro event one time, 108 guys invitational, and I got one of the last 2 alternate slots and ended up finishing 3rd place in that, which sent me to Australia. And I've gotten to surf Australia, Fiji, a place called Tavarua over in Fiji, Barbados, Hawaii several times, California a good many times.
It's much more personal than the other businesses. You almost feel like you have to give something else back to them since they're bringing so much to you. And they're not just bringing money into the shop, they come in and tell you stories, they bring their experiences, you almost grow up with them. And it's real neat to be able to give a little bit back. We help sponsor the Eastern Surfing Association here. I'm on the board of directors there, and I handle their newsletter. And we, like you said, we sponsor surfers as well, and help them out and make it easier for them to get the right equipment.
I don't see any difference in the boys. You've got a few bad eggs, but most of the kids are real good people. There's no, I mean, they're polite. Everything is about surfers are great as far as I'm concerned. Always been good fellas.
I think kids are a little bit more aggressive today and a lot more competitive than they used to be.
It's like the difference between football teams that you would see in the 60s and 70s, more sportsmanship, camaraderie. Generally, it was not an ego thing, it was something you did because you knew that you had to do it. It was inside yourself. Now you see a lot of just egocentric competition.
When we were surfing, you could go anywhere. Now it's kind of restricted to small areas, and then they get packed, and anytime you get people crowded in, yeah, you have a certain amount of animosity and, you know, aggressiveness going on. But for the most part, the kids they're really good. I get a lot of respect in the water, which surprises me.
I think some of the younger kids nowadays might have a little bit more of an attitude problem. I mean, but that's biased, of course. I mean, because you got to be able to look at yourself, and it's kind of hard to look at yourself maybe from a young age and say, I didn't act that way.
I would get a lot of attitudes in the water sometimes, like, hey lady, you gonna catch that wave? And I'm going, you darn right, kid. You know, so it's a matter of them just respecting the older people, and I think they're getting that, but they don't want to.
It's kind of sad, you know, you feel like, God, you've been out here surfing for almost 30 years, and you know, you'd think in most sports that would, you know, you're treated with some kind of respect, but not so much in surfing. I think your respect only comes from your peers in your own age, and we respect each other and share waves and give each other waves and stuff like that. But with the younger generation, now they're pretty much get out of the way, old dude. You know, they're coming through.
But there's a lot of them out there that have no idea what's going on. They drop in on you at any time. But the ones that really learn the spirit of surfing, those are the ones, they're good surfers, and they respect other surfers.
I figured it out a long time ago that if you're going to surf, your boyfriend needed to surf, or you weren't going to spend much time with him.
You're going to be out here all your life. You're going to be out here most of your time. You're going to talk it all the time. You're going to be around surfers. She's got to like the ocean, at least the sun.
And my husband will have to surf, I think. It's going to have to be a given.
I met my wife out surfing, and she came in the shop to buy some surf racks, and the rest is history from there. But we enjoy competing, and she was really getting into it, and she's very good. I mean, she won the East Coast, and she also won the only woman to ever win the hottest wave award at the East Coast Championships. It's pretty good.
It's difficult for a lot of women to handle a surfer's lifestyle. I mean, it's the kind of thing, especially around here when the waves are good, you got to go, and it can happen at a moment's notice, and that's difficult for a lot of people to deal with. And it's kind of hard to say, honey, I can't make dinner with your parents, the surf's up.
He let me have a couple of waves. He was real kind to me out in the water. And then, so I had a big pickup truck, and he had a bicycle, and he had ridden his bicycle. It was during the area of when surfing was restricted to just the washout. So we were at the washout, and we might have not ever met except for that surfing controversy, because Bill never surfed down there. And so we both went down there, and he gave me a couple of waves, and it was real crowded. And so I asked him if he wanted a ride home. I gave him a ride home in my pickup truck with his bicycle. And we've been together ever since.
A surfer is very lucky when he finds a woman that understands his, what I term, quote, healthy addiction to the sport. He's not going out on her, he's not gambling, he's not doing a lot of things that a lot of guys do. I know hunters and fishermen that go out every weekend and leave their wives stranded. Well, that can happen with a surfer, because when the waves are breaking, he's not around. But in my experience, and most of the surfers I know have girlfriends or wives that completely understand the situation. And if they don't, that relationship will not last. It's impossible. If a surfer is a real heart surfer, that he's going to surf no matter what, a relationship cannot exist if the woman in his life just doesn't appreciate his sport. And there's really nothing to be jealous about. It makes him a healthier individual and makes him, I think, more romantic.
Back when I was in high school, we used to go surfing, take a surfing trip up to Cape Hatteras, and it'd usually be a half a dozen of us. Sometimes it'd be 2 to a car, sometimes it'd be 3 or 4, and several vehicles. And we'd always camp out and stay at the Lighthouse Campground or Salvo or Frisco. And it was just, we partied a lot and surfed a lot and fished a little bit and just generally had a good time.
Cape Hatteras probably gets the best waves on the East Coast, or at least it's noted for getting the best waves, and it's a summertime spot. Meanwhile, in the winter, most people I think that travel go down to Florida. It's a little bit warmer in the water there in the winter, and they get a better winter swell.
I've been up as high as Virginia Beach, and of course the Cape, which is one of my favorites. I love going up to the Cape and the whole area there, Rodantha all the way down to the Lighthouse. Frisco, all through there, all the way down to Florida. Many a time we'd take off on a week journey down to Florida and surf all the breaks down there.
We'd go to Florida every Christmas for a couple of weeks when I was like 16, 17, piling a VW microbus and throw Jimi Hendrix on the tape player and pile up the boards and head down and find a cheap campsite and stay for 2 weeks. We'd go to Cape Hatteras for a couple of weeks and surf and just have a great time. Yeah. But now recently, the last few years I've been to Puerto Rico and this past December went to Barbados and stayed a while.
We went to Eleuthera. We go to Cape Hatteras, we used to go to that on a regular basis in Florida. We've gone to Costa Rica. We go do that about twice a year now. That's our steady. We go to Costa Rica.
We went to Hawaii, I think 9 times.
9 times.
And then we've been to the Bahamas. We've been to the British Virgin Islands a couple of times. We've been to Costa Rica.
The famous Costa Rican run.
Famous Costa Rica.
Plan on going to Costa Rica this year, first time. But I'm looking real forward to that trip, because that's one of the hottest spots in the world that I know of.
I've been to Costa Rica. I just returned 3 days ago. I've been there about 7 times, and that place is amazing. I mean, it's just so many good waves, and you know, it's a totally different story than here. I'm just glad that I learned how to surf, and this is my hometown, and this is where I surf. So, but Costa Rica is definitely a treat. I mean, big overhead reef breaks and good barrels and just good waves. I mean, I have to go back at least twice every year.
Well, a friend of mine, Pat, and I went to Hawaii for about 6 months. We got to stay out there, and that was great. That was everything you expected to be and a whole lot more. It's really good waves, and been traveling up and down the East Coast some. I've surfed in North Carolina and Florida. Going to Jersey to see Pat this fall, too. And that'll be interesting because from what I understand, Jersey has really good surf.
I have not left the country to go surfing, not yet. Actually, I gotta wait for my brother to take me someplace. Actually, my mom let me go, but.
Being a surfer, you really get educated in weather. Everything depends on it. You're constantly watching. You're trying to learn as much as you can. It's really done a lot as far as increasing my knowledge and awareness of it. But since everything evolves around tides, the weather, the ocean, and everything, you try to learn as much about it as you can, and you're really up on it. Rarely can anybody come ask you what's going to happen at the beach that you can't tell them.
But most of the times, if we check it a couple times each day that we're here, every now and then it'll catch you off guard. Most of the time it catches me off guard thinking that it's going to be big, and you put out a surf report saying it's going to be big, and you walk out the beach with your board in your hand and all of a sudden it's flat. And then you race back to change the surf report and a couple people bust you. Saying, what happened to that big swell you caught? Or, you know.
And that's what you got to be aware of. It's a stoke, because sometimes you put things aside like work, and like this past Thursday I worked 4 hours, but I surfed 7. So sometimes you got to say, hey, beware of the stoke. You got to be aware of it, because it is something that is a very addicting sport.
The sense of being behind a peak, paddling in, and just knowing that it's, you know, it could happen right now, and a lot of times it does. And so that's a, you know, that adrenaline thing.
Oh man, I got stoked yesterday. We've had waves here for 3-4 days. Actually, yesterday was the second best day of the year. There's waves today, and Thursday was just beautiful, beautiful waves. And I surfed 6 hours Thursday and 5 hours yesterday, and oh, I love it. Yeah, and I'm going to be at it here in just a few minutes too.
Oh yeah, I was out this morning. Yeah, some good waves still. Yeah, it's been a good strong swell. I've been waiting probably about 3 weeks for it to happen. And finally.
I'd get stoked right now if I was out there.
When I went to the beach, well, the last wave I rode was probably the best one. Remember?
The one big day of surfing in my entire 30 years of surfing has to be the Gloria swell. And that was a Thursday in 1985 when Hurricane Gloria was about, 200 miles off the coast. It was the biggest, bestest, as they say, waves I've ever seen, and I'll never forget that day.
Which hurricane was that, where we surfed off the Coast Guard base?
Felix. I do remember this.
That we caught, with like point break waves at low tide. And we've been watching for it to break. That was, what, 4 years ago?
Yeah.
Been watching for it to break again. Being here all the time, it has not broken since.
I just remember this one night where the surf was just absolutely unbelievable, beyond your dreams. And getting this one wave where I really pulled up into the barrel and thought I was dead, could see dry reef, and Thin Lizzie, my surfboard at the time, we took off and got in that barrel, and it was time to go in after that.
We went down to the pier, and we were the only two out, and it was easily head high, very glassy. The water was blue, which is kind of unusual here. Not too much sun, so there wasn't a lot of glare. It was just a great morning of surfing, and eventually like 3 or 4 more guys came out, but they kind of stayed down the beach from us. Like I said, it was easily head high, maybe some bigger sets, very lined up, very glassy, and the offshore wind was on it, and so it was very clean, but it was knocking the size down, so by probably 10 o'clock when everybody else started showing up, 10, 11 o'clock, it was only about waist high. And we were just on the beach laughing. We were getting out and everybody was coming in saying, oh, it's really good, why are you guys leaving? And we were just like, you don't know.
I looked out the window and the waves were about 10-foot faces, 11-foot faces, and the wind was straight offshore. And I went out, paddled out to a place called High Rock at Soup Bowls, took off on this wave, and it just built right up, straight up. I can still see it straight up, and all I had to do was stall just a little bit. The wave just went over. I could put my hands on the top of the wave like this. It went right over my head, came down, and I was standing in it like this, watching the Bajan surfers walk. They were paddling up the face, yelling and screaming at me, and then it just shot me out, straight out, and just came back around, stalled again, and then a smaller tube right over the head and kicked out. I could have gone home then.
The week they landed on the moon in 1969, for some reason, there was a week of low pressure and the waves were outrageous. Now I know there's been just as good a surf since, but for some reason I was 18 years old that summer. That whole week was tremendous, and the day they landed on the moon, the waves were really good, and we thought it was kind of ominous.
And it was this unreal. Hurricane Ed waters right offshore. It was 8-foot glass, just perfect. And I was out there, about 100 people were out. It was just so crowded, but I like crowds, so I think it's real fun. Like, one wave I dropped in on, everybody was yelling at me. It was a big set wave. I dropped in, did like a bomb turn, came up and got into the barrel. Everybody was screaming, hooting and everything. And I pulled out and did like a floater and rode it in. I paddled back out. Everybody was like, yeah, nice wave, nice wave.
There was a day that does stick out in my mind. It was actually 2 years ago. It was in Cape Hatteras. I was with my boyfriend surfing, and Greg Lohr was out, and it was just super, super glassy. It was the second jetty away from the lighthouse, and it was probably about a good 5 to 7 just nice A-frames, glass. And I got barreled so many times that day, and I was just with my boyfriend and Greg Lohr were the only ones out, and it was just for 3 hours, surfing great waves, with good surfers and good times. It was a good time.
Just yesterday afternoon, I had one that I'd say, that was a good wave.
There's a guy in Hawaii named Rabbit Kakai. He's about 77 now or so, and he still surfs 10-foot waves and full on. He has an event down in Costa Rica, a surf contest, and he's on it every day. And so hopefully I can be like that. I mean, riding a longboard or whatever the boards look like, 50 years from now, I hope I'm on them.
As long as I can punch the line up, I'll be out there.
I hope I never have to pick up a golf club. That's the way I look at it. If I pick up a golf club, I might as well retire from surfing and become an old man.
I'm going to surf as long as I can walk.
Well, until my knees give out. I've already had ortho done on one knee, and I'm probably going to have it done on the other one, but as long as I can get up and go out and just have a good time, I'm probably going to be sticking right with it. It's been 30 years, and like I said, I haven't looked back since. Don't plan on it.
I'm going to surf right on. I don't plan on quitting. Won't be able to do what I can't do now what I used to could do, but you know, I plan on surfing right on, have my grandkids and hopefully even my great-grandkids out there with me surfing and enjoying it. Now, I don't plan to quit ever, never.
If I ever went while I was surfing, I couldn't ask for a better way to go out. I don't know what else can you say with that.
I don't know. That's a good question. As long as I can get up on a board, I'm going to go out and try it. I'm looking. You see these commercials with all these guys look like they're in their 70s or 80s. So I'm going to try to surf as long as I can.
As long as I'm able to live, I guess.
I met a 72-year-old man in Hawaii who took me under his wing and showed me where to take off and got the other bros to let me have a wave, and he was just a real inspiration. So I'm hoping we might not be as agile and get down as tight in the tube, but we'll keep going. It's good for the heart.
My idea is if I'm 80 years old and they say I got 6 months to live, I'm going to hire a helicopter at Waimea Bay, Hawaii, pay the guy whatever he wants, get drunk at a hotel, and get popped out beyond the lineup and catch the last wave. And that's how I'm going to go down on my brand new surfboard.
You know, as I've gotten older, I've come to appreciate things a little bit more, and surfing now is not so much just in the act of riding a wave in itself, it's the whole thing that goes around it, the listening to the weather reports and the anticipation of plotting when you think a swell's going to hit, and planning your route for work, you know, and how you're going to be able to arrange your work schedule around your surf schedule, and you know, just getting up at that early in the morning and getting your board and putting it on the car, and the feel of cool sand in your toes when you're going out to the beach, and hearing the swell or seeing it for the first time. Just the whole experience in itself is part of the deal. I can't say that there's any one favorite part of that.
There's a combination of things that draw me, and I think all surfers. The sights, the sounds, the smell, the saltwater smell in the air, the taste of the salt water in your mouth, the feel of the water on your skin. There are exciting elements of nature that surround you that you don't experience on the land. When you take off on a wave and the wind blows the spray in your face. When you get locked into a big wave and it comes completely over you, when you're tubed, there's a sound there. It's like a roar, yet at the same time you don't hear anything. And it happens so fast. Sometimes when you get through and you kick out and paddle out, you go, wow, what just happened? And it takes a moment or two for it all to come back to you.
Surfing is a lifestyle. It's something that just actually it takes in all of life. There's a culture to it. There's an appreciation for your environment, appreciation for the beauty of God's creation, and it's just a whole thing. I mean, the feeling, the camaraderie of the people, and like my whole family surfs now. Brought my kids up in it, and they all are good surfers, and it's a whole different feeling. I don't know. When you're riding on a wave, you don't have a motor. All you've got yourself and that wave that is moving with you. And so it's a whole different medium to try to find a thrill in. And it's just an incredible, incredible sport.
You know, it's one of those things where you can paddle out and leave all your problems on the beach and find out who you are and where you stand in your heart and your soul. And surfing is a spiritual, soul-searching thing, and I used to surf professionally in a very competitive way, and now when I compete, it's, you know, longboard and something with my son. He takes it very seriously, but I'm real happy to say that he has grown up but with surfing around him enough that he knows what soul surfing is.
And I compete now, but I compete with the attitude of I'm competing to have a good time. To where I used to be, I was competing to win, to win, to win, to win. Now I'm competing to just have a good time, and that's how Cole is, because in his first contest he won a trophy. The next contest he didn't win a trophy, so on our way home I said, Cole, you know, you bummed out because you didn't win a trophy? He said, I had a good time, and that's why you should do it, right? But it's nice to win a trophy, doesn't it?
Better than losing one.
They say that the best surfer in the water is the one that's having the most fun. So that's our motto. Go out there and just have fun.
It's just a bad habit I got into when I was a kid.